Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge. They don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like. Wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifted. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as your Law Intellect. Welcome to the channel. Please be respectful in the chat. We're just going to kick it a little bit, follow up from last night. It's funny because Joy said, I was just watching a video from last night. I had it on last night, but I was half asleep. So I decided to come on and burn with midnight oil. We had night court apparently last night. And I just had a few things to get off my chest, okay? So I slightly have been covering the Desiree Perez versus her daughter Demore, but I wasn't really. People that heard me on Sunday know that I really wasn't even going to talk about it. I was supposed to go over the cross-examination of Capricorn, all right? And then I was like, man, I just read this complaint and it is wild. So that's what made us even start talking about it, right? And so... And so it turned into a 2.5-hour live, of which we pretty much went over the complaint from Demore, the motion to dismiss from her mom. But one of the things, and it all started, for those of you that don't know, is because Demore was in my chat. And she basically was saying, what she say, y'all know what I need to pull up the AG report. Everything was debunked. All her mom's evidence is AI. Let me be specific on what she said. I don't want to put words in her mouth. But I got the AG report. And so don't challenge me because I'll go get it. And I want to know what y'all think when you hear this AG report. Is it exactly how it's being portrayed out here? So she said, you should contact me and read my complaint so you can understand, quote, all audio and video was fabricated, manipulated, edited, AI altered evidence. The state of Florida wrote this and we have proof. Okay, so this is supposed to be in the AG report. And that friend testified that being false. She recorded us having sex. That's how disgusting she is and how much technology she used to use against us. So read my complaint and contact me and research. So I research because that's what I do for a living, hon. If all this evidence was real, we wouldn't have won the cases. So I'm assuming she's talking about him getting out, okay, with him not being arrested for him being her husband now, who was just her man back then. But I'm going to pull up this 11-page AG report because that is the request of Miss Hadley. And we're going to go line by line, precept by precept. And y'all help me see things that apparently I ain't seeing. Thank you so much, Peanut Setty, for becoming a member. Thank you, Mrs. C60, for the super chat. Thank you, Joy, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Because this is what she asked, okay? I just read what she said. This is what she asked. I responded and just asked, so what wasn't true? Is like you weren't being abused? Like what's not true? In addition, y'all, before she filed her lawsuit, Desiree and some of her family members filed a lawsuit against her husband. All right. She got more text messages of back and forth. I'm sure they're going to say it's fake. But she has, and that's the lawsuit they keep calling frivolous. But she has more text messages that kind of open your eyes on some things as well. But I ain't even getting into that. I'm just going to do her request on the AG report. So what I need y'all to do, hey Ray, good to see you, bro. Valerie, good to see you. What I need y'all to do, Joy, you, I got you, sis. I need y'all to hit this like button, all right? So let me tell you what happened. I was on live, as y'all know, really, really late. Then I had court this morning. And my prayer was, Lord, please let them come on immediately because I just need to go lay back down. Lord, I just need to lay back down. So I was sitting here in front of the little Zoom camera. 5 minutes went by, 10 minutes, 15. I'm like, what number are we on the docket? Lord, 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 Lord. So we get on. I mean, it went well, you know what I'm saying? Like I, won. But we get on there and I was just so I'm just tired. So then in my mind, I said, why don't you just go ahead and do this Diddy stuff? Like while you're already sitting here, you already dressed, just do the Diddy stuff. My eyes were so heavy, I couldn't do nothing. Next thing you know, I was just knocked out. I woke up to, I got you a salad. I got you. It's way past lunchtime. I got you a salad. I was like, give me 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll be up in 1 second. And I don't know. I probably slept 3 hours. Clearly, I needed it. But yeah. So I'm sorry, y'all. If anybody was at work tired because they just were so nosy, they wanted to see what I was going to say last night, I personally apologize because your girl was tired as heck too. I was like, done. Thank you, Joy. Queen Brielle said, hi, Pam in chat. Good to see you. So let's pull up this. No, because so the reason why I'm going to pull this up is because what I did last night was I just went over the complaint. Her complaint has snippets from the AG report. Now, when the actual lawsuit, and I don't know, she may have it attached to the complaint. I don't remember. But I know this was attached in the lawsuit that was against Desiree. Not against Desiree, was it? No, against Javon. I think so. What happened is Desiree sued Javon for some communications act. She has some allegations and she got a boatload of, like, that lawsuit is long. And it's about 3 or 4 people that are plaintiffs against her husband. So this was filed back in April. He has since filed a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim. And he attached this AG report, which is 11 pages. As you all know, Demore filed a lawsuit against her mom, Rock Nation, and all of that. That's what we went over yesterday. But hers was filed about a month after her mom had filed one against her husband. She's not a part of that lawsuit. And honestly, in her lawsuit, and I'm not saying it's true or, everything is allegations in the pleading, but she does elaborate a lot more on the alleged facts as to why she felt like her daughter should be committed. There were allegations of, I guess they thought she was taking pills because allegedly she was slurring words, and it was these interventions. It was just a lot going on. Okay. And so it gave you a little bit more insight into allegedly, I guess, what her mom's thought process was. As you guys know, Desiree's position is her mom done made everything up, as she just said in my text. The video, my comments, the video of her husband punching her, I guess it's AI manipulated or whatever I just read. She's saying it's not true, and the audio is not true. And she did a news And I just heard it today. Because honestly, I was not following this. It was just like, oh my gosh, I, saw it somewhere, looked it up, had heard who Desiree Perez was. People was going kind of hard on one side. But then when I seen the date of it, I'm like, did she find a motion to dismiss this case and nobody's talking about it? So that's what made me like look at both sides just to see what was really going on. But in this news interview, which is supposed to be how a lot of people found out that there even was a lawsuit, she went and sat with the news and she accused her mother, as she did in her lawsuit, of admitting or committing her under the Bakers Act law that's in Florida, and said it was wrongful. So she did a whole, news conference, and her lawyer was on there. I mean, not a conference, she did a sit down. They had a snippet of her lawyer who was on there and was saying, all of this stuff, how egregious everything was and all of that. And they also again mentioned the report. So I want y'all to keep in mind what she said, because this is what she said. And then we're going to get into the report. We got a few people in here. I just ain't want to have to repeat myself. Make sure y'all hit the like button, okay? Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I'm a little tired, so please forgive me. She said in my chat, okay? She said we can agree to disagree respectfully. Please keep it cute or you will find yourself mute. Okay. I even made it where you can't even comment, because this is similar to a Tory Lanez. Like, there are people that I have never heard of. I don't know if they're dummy pages, troll pages, somebody making up a bunch of pages so they can be under the chat. I don't know. But they're commenting, it's so much engagement under this video, basically trying to convince me and to say the attorney general already said everything was AI. So I'm trying to look to see where it's at. So I'm gonna let me know if you see it. But anyway, she said you should contact me and read my complaint so you can understand all, capital ALL, audio and video was fabricated, manipulated, edited, AI altered evidence. She also said the state of Florida wrote this and we have proof. So she's saying the state of Florida said everything was fabricated, manipulated, edited, and AI altered evidence. That's how I'm reading it. Okay, so we gonna see what they have to say. That's all. We just gonna see. So this is the memo. This is the memo. So it has summary. The beginning is a bunch of summaries, right? But you can, once you go into it, it is going to have all of the individual. It's going to have more meat to it so that they elaborate on it. So this is just an outline, is the best way to put it. So it has on here, the state does not have a good faith basis upon which to file charges and took no action at arraignment. The charges were battery, and then there was a PTR, a protection order violation. The relationship, an intimate relationship. There was a delayed arrest. So the incident was for September 11th. I think they mean 2023. However, they didn't arrest him until April 8th, 2024. So that's why they were saying, remember, I guess there was supposed to be some alleged warrant, and this was the whole kidnapping scheme. They were saying they all went out to some location, they're on go-karts, and investigator who was following her told the police she was kidnapped, I guess, in order to get them to and by the way, he has a warrant for his arrest for DV. And so he ended up getting arrested, and this was in front of his family and friends. But it got victim information. Victim does not wish to cooperate. Then it has victim has recanted the incident. Thank you for becoming, well, I think you've been one before. Thank you for renewing your membership, Sarah. I appreciate it. So let's see. What does recantation mean under the law? Let me not do Pam's definition. Basically, she retracted her statement. All right. Whatever she gave him, she changed her mind. So then they had the additional evidence. Of course, it was not in front of observed by the police. They were called after the fact. 911 call was made. However, the state is not in possession of the recording because the incident was allegedly in September. They don't keep them, the 911 calls. I guess they don't always keep them that long. I don't know their retention policy, but it still doesn't seem like it was that long. But anyway, they say due to the date of the incident, the recording is past their retention period. So they don't have it. They didn't have any photographs. They also checked no other physical or testimony evidence exists. And they had witnesses. Let me go back. They have witnesses that are cooperative, but there are other problems. Witnesses did not observe the incident. So they were willing to talk about it or testify, but they didn't like physically see it. So that was an issue. So this is the background. On December 30th, 2023, Javon Hadley, the defendant, was arrested for one count of battery, and they had a case number against Demore Lopez. The charge in the case is a delayed arrest with an incident date of January 16, 2022. So they got a whole different date even than the one from September. But anyway, the incident was reported to Miami-Dade police by the victim's mother on December 23rd. The state dismissed the case on February 23rd, 2024, due to lack of victim cooperation and the incident date being past the statute of limitations. During the pre-file investigation of the case, an investigation into allegations of an incident that occurred on September 11, 2023. Oh, so they're talking about some past stuff. They're like giving history. So the incident that allegedly occurred on September 11, 2023 was conducted by both the state's attorney office and MDPD. The investigation yielded the conclusion by both the SAO and MDPD that there was no probable cause to arrest for the September 11th incident without a cooperating victim. At the time, Desiree Perez, the victim's mother, was represented by Brett Schwartz. On April 5th, 2024, the defendant was arrested for one count of assault and one count of battery. So they're going over all these charges because remember, her complaint says these were fraudulent arrests. The charges in that case stem from the September 11, 2023 incident. That is the same incident the SAO previously investigated, concluded that without the victim's cooperation and testimony, we could not meet the statutory elements for the three crimes the victim's mother wanted the defendant investigated for: assault, battery, and false imprisonment. On April 8, 2024, the defendant was arrested for one count of domestic violence, an injunction violation. This new arrest stems from a violation of the stay-away order that was issued in one of the cases, the case referenced above. There was probable cause found at the bond hearing for one count of pretrial release violation for returning to the residence of the victim in violation of the stay-away order that was issued in the other case. So here's the case, the count one battery. The state cannot file charges of battery against the defendant pursuant to Florida statute section 784.03 sub 1 sub A. The offense of battery occurs when a person, one, actually and intentionally touches or strikes another person against the will of the other, or two, intentionally causes bodily harm to another person. The state does not have a good faith basis to file a battery charge in this case because the victim has consistently maintained that a battery did not occur. The victim maintains it was a heated verbal argument only, and none of the witnesses saw the defendant commit the battery. This precludes the state from moving forward. The state does not know what happened on September 11, 2023. The victim has consistently maintained to MDPD and the SAO multiple times and under oath that nothing physical occurred. The state does not have specific information on what happened or may not have happened. The state does not know if, in fact, the defendant battered the victim, how many times the defendant may have hit the victim, where he may have hit her, whether the victim pushed or hit him first, etc. Essentially, we don't have a testifying witness that can describe the battery or what occurred inside the room. So now they're going to say what Demore said. Okay. The victim in this case has never stated that a battery occurred. The victim stated to officers on the date of incident that nothing happened. Quote, there was no physical altercation and that Mr. Hadley just raised his voice loudly during the argument. Patrol officers on scene the day of found no probable cause to arrest anyone. Additionally, when Detective Williams went to the victim's home on December 29, 2023, to investigate the M23025-900 case and this one, the victim refused to go to the station, refused to let the detective in the house, and told the defendant not to come out of the house in order to avoid being arrested, per Detective Williams. On September 11, 2023, the victim also told witness Olga Zayas that nothing happened. The victim is heard on the audio, so that's the audio we heard, provided by the victim's mother, telling Ms. Zaya that nothing happened. The victim also maintained her position during the bond hearing held on April 9, 2024. The victim stated, quote, we've been together 15 years and I've never been abused in my life by my partner. So she says she's never been abused. The victim attempted to remove the stay away order, which was denied by the judge. So she tried to get the PPO away off of him, and the judge was like, no. This is what she wanted me to look at, unless she just wanted me to look at what was inside of. She had snippets in the complaint. I read those snippets, but this is the entire document. Okay, let's go on. In a hearing held on April 16, 2024, the victim stated that on September 11, 2023, her and Mr. Hadley were having, quote, a verbal argument about a business decision I had made. So they got the transcript. Further, the victim states, quote, so Olga Zayas walks into the room. She tells us that my mother had some type of camera without our knowledge inside of the room and that she was made aware that we were arguing and that I possibly was beaten up. I clarified, no, I haven't gotten hit and nobody got beat up. So this is her transcript. This is what she said. The victim came into the SAO on April 26, 2024 for a pre-file conference. The victim provided the state with the written statement, which states, quote, victim was never attacked, nor hit, nor beaten by the defendant. The victim also wrote that on the date of the incident, it was just a, quote, verbal argument, and she was never physically attacked. So this is Olga Zayas and Gonzalez, who are allegedly the ones that came in the room. The state does not have a good faith basis to file a battery charge against the defendant based on circumstantial evidence provided by the witnesses. There are no eyewitnesses to the battery. The two witnesses in this recorded statement confirm they never saw the defendant strike or physically touch the victim. Further, the witness in their pre-file never stated they heard a slap, only that they heard fighting, yelling, and things being moved around. The witnesses never saw that what the victim looked like before the incident occurred. It is impossible to establish whether or not the victim had redness to her cheek prior to her argument with the defendant. Thus, this does not amount to circumstantial evidence to establish a battery occurred. The witnesses provided statements to the officers on September 11, 2023. The witness then spoke with the SAO on January 29th, 2024 regarding this incident when the SAO was investigating this incident pre-arrest. The witness's version of events has become more elaborate each time they are asked to give a statement. However, that what has remained consistent is that neither witness saw the actual alleged battery occur. The only person in the room was the victim, who has always denied any abuse occurring on September 11, 2023. So now we can get to these illegal recordings. The audio from September 11. There is an audio recording of September 11, 2023 incident. This recording is an illegal recording and even still inconclusive of a battery. The recording captures the defendant yelling at the victim, and it sounds like the victim says, quote, "Don't hurt me." In another illegal recording, the victim confides in a friend that the defendant grabbed her neck. This would not explain the redness on the cheek and is not fully consistent with what the witnesses saw when they walked in. However, the victim's conversation with her friend is also a part of an illegal recording and is further hearsay. Further, in a hearing that occurred on April 16, 2024, the victim states, quote, "So Olga Zayas walks into the room. She tells us that my mother had some type of camera without our knowledge inside of the room, and that she made aware that we were arguing that I possibly was beaten up. I clarified, no, I haven't gotten hit. Nobody got beat up." This recording let me tell you why they said the recording was illegal. This recording is illegal because the camera located outside the bedroom captured audio from inside the victim and defendant's bedroom. The victim stated under oath and on the record in open court that she was being recorded by that camera without her consent. The victim and defendant have a reasonable expectation of privacy in their bedroom pursuant to the law, and this recording is an illegal recording and inconclusive of a battery or assault occurring anyway. Pursuant to our office policies, we do not have a good faith basis to file a charge of battery. Oh, God. Thank you for the super chat. You said I woke up this morning too tired. I felt drunk. I think we all did, child. So the recordings were illegal. She said it was AI. Okay. The attorney general said it was illegal. The reason why it was illegal, one thing Desiree did say is that the recordings were just surveillance in the house, right? And she claims allegedly this is supposed to be something that her daughter asked for as well. So the camera was outside the bedroom, but apparently you can hear everything in the bedroom. Like it's recording the camera they have that's in the hallway. You can hear what's going on. Like I said yesterday, I was like, we got cameras in areas where if you walk by the hallway, it's going to pick up on the kitchen camera or something like that. So that's what it sounds like. They're saying is that it's illegal because she's testifying she didn't give consent for the camera that's picking up their bedroom, and they have an expectation of privacy under Florida law. So that's what's making it illegal. Totally different. In her lawsuit, that's what I was saying. She said in her lawsuit that it was wiretapping, eavesdropping. She had a whole lot of stuff in there related to illegal filming or illegal recording allegations. So this is different by saying there's a camera outside and she's using it to, it's picking up what's in our bedroom. And Desiree was saying the picture she took that she put in her complaint was a picture she took on her phone in the bedroom. She said she didn't have any cameras in the bedroom, but this is her allegation. So maybe she got some more recordings or something but I mean, we don't know now because according to the AG, it picks up from the hallway. So any recordings, unless there's actual video recordings in the room, we're not going to know if she actually had a recording in the room. You've seen the listening device. Her expert pretty much debunked it, if you want to believe it, that it was even a listening device that they alleging that they found. I'm reading the AG report line by line because I don't want anybody to say she ain't finished reading it. She didn't interpret it right. Because what happened is in her complaint, she had in her actual complaint, she put little snippets of this. Like a lot of the stuff from the report, there were snippets. So what she did was like she put this part about there was audio recording on September 11th. This recording is an illegal recording, even still inconclusive. She put this part in there. That's what we heard, that we saw in the complaint. However, this part about confiding in your friend, grabbed your neck, and I don't think that was in there. And none of this stuff was in there in the complaint that I saw. I could double check myself. So the state cannot file an assault charge against the defendant pursuant to Florida statute. An assault is an intentional and unlawful threat by words or act to do violence to the person or another, coupled with an apparent ability to do so in doing some act which creates a well-founded fear in such other person. Basically, assault is the fear of a battery with the ability to carry out that battery. A battery is actually intentional touching of a person, but they pretty much, combined the two over time. But so they said there was no assault either, like there was no verbal threats and the apparent ability to carry out the threats, because she's just saying, I ain't cooperating with y'all. I ain't a victim. None of this happened. Everybody lying. So they don't even have a witness. The victim is uncooperative and maintains there was nothing more than a verbal argument. Due to her stating she is not and has never been afraid of the defendant, the state cannot prove a well-founded fear in the mind of the victim. The victim has maintained that no threats or threatening actions were made against her on September 11th. The state could not rebut a potential self-defense claim because the victim has not confirmed in detail what happened the date of the incident, nor made any allegations of an unlawful threat by word or by act. On April 6th, the victim appeared via Zoom and stated she was not in fear and wanted the stay away order lifted, and stated she was never been abused by Mr. Hadley. So that was at the bond hearing. Circumstantial evidence of fear. The state cannot file a charge of assault based on circumstantial evidence of fear. The jury instructions for assault require that the act of the defendant created in the mind of victim a well-founded fear that the violence was about to take place. Attorneys for the witnesses argue that assault can be proven based on the witness's testimony that they heard a loud argument, and when they walked into the room, the defendant was standing in front of the victim with his hand raised. The attorneys cite Daniels v. State, which holds a denial of fear is certainly a factor that may weigh against other circumstantials presented, but it is not conclusive. And in this case, there is evidence to support the conclusion that Daniels' conduct was sufficient to create a well-founded fear. And Daniels v. State is distinguishable from the case at hand. In Daniels, the defendant threatened to shoot the victim. The defendant then proceeded to shoot bullets through the window of the car as he and the victim were driving. The victim testified she was not in fear. However, the court found that in applying an objective standard, a reasonable, prudent person would find that defendant's actions and words would typically induce fear. So in that case, I guess in Daniel, the guy was pounding everything, and the woman still said, I wasn't scared. And they're like, okay, we're going to do a reasonable person standard, because a reasonable person would not be okay with somebody who was pissed off shooting guns. So she's saying this ain't to that level when it came to Demore. Here, what the witness perceived would not objectively induce fear, especially when weighted against the victim's denial of fear. The witnesses only saw the defendant hand raised, and the victim stated to the witness when she intervened that nothing happened. It should also be noted that in January 2024, when one of the witnesses were interviewed, she stated it could have been the defendant was talking with his hands. Further, in Daniels, the court held that the denial of fear is a fact to be weighed against other circumstances. Here, the witnesses observing a hand raised does not outweigh the victim's denial of fear. Pursuant to our office policies, we do not have good faith basis to file a charge of assault in this case. Then she had it was a pretrial release violation. The state does not have a good faith basis to file one count of pretrial release violation in this case. The violation occurred on April 8, 2024, when the defendant went to the shared residence with his brother to retrieve clothing. The victim was not present at the time because she had been wrongfully Baker acted and then Merchman acted by her mother and was located outside the Miami-Dade County. Now, I don't know if this is information, their thoughts that they felt like she was wrongfully Baker act, or if this was information provided to them. But nonetheless, she was released, so she probably shouldn't have been Baker acted, and certainly not Marchman acted. Okay, the state cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim lived at the residence that is the subject of the pretrial release. Violation because the victim does not wish to cooperate. So then they got the address and all of that. The arrest was prompted by a private investigator hired to follow the defendant. The private investigator contacted an MDPD sergeant to report the defendant at the residence, which was under surveillance. This violation is not based on any contact with the victim and was quite frankly discovered through questionable means. So they put that part in there too. I think about the questionable means. I don't know. When the arresting officer arrived on scene, they had no idea why they were there. They responded to a DV violation, but were directed to go to the address by the sergeant. A private investigator then approached one of the officers to provide them with a copy of the stay away order. The responding officers had to call the sergeant to figure out what was going on and why they were there. In trial, the cross of these officers would be detrimental to the state's case. The officers did not turn off their body-worn camera for case investigation. Officer Reynoso at one point calls Detective Martinez to figure out what to do. Officer Reynoso informs Martinez he has not been able to make contact with the victim, to which Detective Martinez responds, she is against the arrest of this guy. She is like protecting him. So she isn't going to want the guy to do anything about it. So that's supposed to be on a body-worn camera. Officer Reynoso and Martinez are on scene for about 45 minutes trying to figure out what the heck we supposed to do. Some comments by the officers on the body-worn camera include, at the minute 5:22 mark, Officer Carter says, both of you are detained until I figure out what is going on, both referring to the defendant and his brother. Then at the 6:42 minute, Carter said, defendant's brother asked what's going. Officer Carter says, we're going to figure it out. 18-minute, defendant brother wants to know the charge. Officer Carter says he doesn't know. So basically they don't know. They got all of these body cams like, I don't even know why we're here. Reynoso, I was just giving orders and it was the bosses. Then Officer Carter said, like he just told you, we got a call from the uppers, you know what I'm saying, the bosses. So that's what they're using, I think, in there to try to say that she had some people that she knew up in the department. At the 22-minute and 8-second mark, Reynoso says, I don't know what you got going on with this girl, but she troubled, bro. She is putting you through all this stuff. Defendant responds, it's the mom. Then 22 minutes and 35 seconds, Reynoso said, people know people. Then 26 minutes and 15 seconds, Reynoso calling the sergeant says, hello, Sarge, which one is it? Defense counsel will be allowed to cross-examine the officers on all these statements, which further help defense's theory of the case. These are all false allegations made up by the victim's mother, who is well-connected and wealthy. Pursuant to our office policies, we do not have, but basically they thought they was going to get lit up from the body-worn cameras on cross-examination. So this is the jail calls. The state cannot proceed with additional charges based on the defendant's jail calls. The alleged violations contained on the jail calls do not threaten the well-being and safety of the victim. Further, the state cannot introduce these jail calls as they are hearsay within hearsay, and there is not an individual to introduce them through. What? They jail calls are entered in all the time. There is not even a complaining victim to say that she received the alleged messages from the defendant. During an April 16th hearing, defense counsel asked the victim if the defendant made any attempt to reach out to her via jail calls or any other means. The victim responded, no. Additionally, the defendant was confused about whether he could go back to the shared residence if the victim was not there. On April 9, 2024, during a conversation with his mother, the defendant states, quote, just tell Demore to go back. I forgot to tell you so that she can take care of the cats and everything because Beethoven was kind of upset. That's literally the reason why I got in trouble because I was hugging on Beethoven and I took too long. I was thinking she isn't here. I didn't think the police were going to be there for that. Additionally, the alleged violation in a conversation between the defendant and his mother on April 9, 2024, where the defendant states, tell her, the victim, she can go to the house and it's gated and everything, and she can be at the crib because I cannot be there anyway. Tell her to take the charger. She got a spare key. Tell her she can take my car and then go to the house. She can be around the crib. Tell her to go to the crib and take my car so she can have a car and a crib. Defendant's mother responds that they found out that they, presumably the victim's family, parked her car at Jeffe's house. So I guess that's the victim's, probably Hefe, huh? Seems to be the victim's grandfather. Defendant says she can go to the crib where ain't no point in both of us being out of the house. Somebody got to take care of the house. We got a cat in there. It is important to note that the victim's mother is suing the victim for her vehicle under theories of conversion and breach of contract. Seeing they got ethical considerations. The incident was previously investigated by the former division chief of the misdemeanor domestic violence unit and the assistant chief of the domestic violence unit, as well as the MDPD detective who spoke with the witnesses, reviewed evidence, including a Google Drive of recordings and transcripts, body-worn camera, and an affidavit supplied by the attorney for the victim's mother. After a thorough review, both the SAO and MDPD informed the attorney and the victim's mother via telephone and email that there was no PC without a cooperating victim. At the time, the victim's mother was represented by Brett Schwartz. At some point during March 2024, the victim's mother hired Lara Gates and former chief of the Miami-Dade State's Attorney Office Narcotic Division, Jessica Casso. After this, in late March, the victim's mother went back to MDPD with the Google Drive of evidence previously reviewed, and MDPD reinitiated an investigation into the September 11th incident. The only, quote, new evidence between January 2024, when the SEAO and MDPD found no PC, and April 5th, when the defendant was arrested, were the formal recorded interviews of the witnesses. However, those witnesses had submitted affidavits and previously spoken with the state to provide their testimony related to the incident. The recorded interviews did not change the fact that the witnesses never saw the battery and provided the same information to the state and MDPD previously. When the April arrest was effectuated, Ms. Casso told ASA Farrell that she was the former chief of the narcotics unit and was very well connected with the police departments. She also told ASL Farrell to not be surprised if the case is taken from her and given to a more experienced ASA. Not her attorney going in there like, do you know who I am? Google me. During Detective Manaz's pre-file, the arresting detective on the M24007-363 case, her sergeant, Sergeant Reyes, requested to be present during the detective's pre-file, which is unusual. Detective Manaz did not speak to the victim. Detective Manaz did not speak to the witness. Pre-trial release violation. The victim's mother rented the house directly across from the residence of the defendant and victim. Live surveillance of the home as well as video recording surveillance was conducted. The defendant was observed getting clothes from the home while the victim was not there. The defendant alleges that the victim's mother has been harassing him for years and has private investigators following him around and everywhere he goes. This was also confirmed to us via an offense incident report that was turned over by defense counsel, confirming that the defendant is being followed by private investigators. When the arresting officers arrived on the scene, they did not know why they were there. They responded to a domestic violence violation, but were directed to go to the address by a sergeant. A private investigator then approached one of the officers to provide them with the stay-away order. The responding officer had to call the sergeant to figure out what was going on and why they were there. in trial, the cross of these officers would be detrimental to this case. Then they go to some more jail calls. The alleged violation contained in these jail calls based off a call made on April 9th, 2024. In that call, the defendant tells his mother to tell Demore, this is the same stuff about going back to the house and be with Beethoven, the cat, and all of that. So they're basically going over why they didn't continue to pursue charges for the violation of the stay away order. So they're going down in this memo, like piece by piece, why they made the decision they made not to prosecute. Other considerations. The victim is very concerned with the conduct of her family. The victim found a tracker in her luggage and believes she was followed to the SAO when she came in for her pre-file statement. When the victim came into the SAO, an attorney for the witnesses also appeared and inquired with the receptionist as to the whereabouts of the victim. The victim claims her family has hacked her iCloud account and accessed her private data and information. The victim's mother provided the state with the Google Drive of evidence, which contained private conversations that the victim had the defendant dating back to 2017. The victim's mother is also suing the victim under the case number for her vehicle under theories of breach of contract and conversion. The lawsuit alleges that the victim's mother bought the victim the vehicle and she was not to dispose of it without the mother's permission. Per the complaint, defendant has wrongfully asserted control over the vehicle, causing harm to the plaintiff, specifically by threatening to dispose of the vehicle to a third party in exchange for monetary gain and direct violation of the parties' agreement. The victim's mother called in a false 911 call in December, which is a crime in and of itself. This was also a piece that was in the actual complaint, and reported the victim was getting kidnapped. Again, she responded, it was anonymous. Whoever made the call, it was anonymous. So the victim's mother also petitioned to have the victim Merchman acted, and the victim was Baker acted. The witnesses under oath told ASA Subpoena and ASL Farrell that the victim does not do drugs or drink. The Merchman Act was voluntarily withdrawn April 5th, the day the defendant was arrested for the case. The victim on April 16, 2024, testified under oath that she was apprehended on Wednesday, March 27th, around 6 p.m. I was tricked into going to Daytona Beach where I was falsely accused. So I was Baker acted and Merchman acted. My mother accused me of having a history of doing drugs and having a mental. The victim then denied ever using drugs or having any mental issues. So that is the 11th page report that I was supposed to read. Now, y'all heard that whole report. This is what she said. You should contact me and read my complaint so you can understand that all audio and video was fabricated, manipulated, edited, AI altered evidence. The state of Florida wrote this, and we have proof. They said it was illegal. The recording was and couldn't be used because the camera was outside the room and it was recording, and you said that you didn't give consent for them to be recording what's happening in your room, even though the camera wasn't necessarily in your room. And that's a violation of the Privacy Act. Then it says, and that friend testified to that being false. She recorded us having sex. That's how disgusting she is and how much technology she used to against us. The reason why I said something about that yesterday is a lot of people were in my chat saying that. Like random people I've never seen, they've never engaged on this platform, were like saying, she probably heard them have sex. If she had a device in there, she probably heard them getting it in. That's nasty. That's just crazy. It's no excuse for that. I don't really care. She was getting popped. We don't care. That was just gross. And then once she put that, I'm like, okay, so she reading the comments too and seeing what people are saying as well. Sassy Experience said, all I'm getting out of this is she wants her mama's money, but not her opinion. That could be it. It might be. Maybe it's somebody else, but she was very adamant. You need to read the whole. Somebody else in there was telling me The attorney general debunked it and said it was all AI. I need y'all to tell me what in this report says that, because I don't see that. Point me in the direction to help reach. Thank you, Miss Bay thing. I appreciate that. The daughter is a grown woman. Desiree Perez did too much. What she did is still illegal. What's your point? Whoever you are, because I ain't never seen you before. What's your point of that comment? See, when you don't have arguments, then it's like, well, whatever your authority is, it's whatever, it's still wrong. That that's not an argument, right? My point of this live was because I was asked to read this report. This report does not coincide with what was being said on my post. So I said, I'm going to read it line by line, precept by precept. What I will acknowledge is that within her complaint, she pulled out the snippets that she wanted to put in there. The snippet about it was illegally obtained. She never put it was because there was a camera outside of the door recording that it was not in her bedroom. It was outside of the door. It was recording, which it should not have been recording their conversations, because you can cut that off. Sometimes you just you put cameras in really to see what's going on in your house, just generally, and for security reasons. That's why security camera. That part wasn't in the complaint. So if you don't read this entirety of it, then you will think that they just said, oh, she had to obtain it illegally, which means she got it from putting wiretaps or something in the room, because why else would you say it's illegal? But no, they're saying it was an invasion of privacy because she had the cameras that were outside of the room recording. So why was there? I don't even think there was an invasion of. Was there an invasion of privacy count? It might have been. I don't remember. I don't recall. You suggest me said I think it's Desiree and her man. I don't know, but she what was I gonna say? Threw me off. That's how I know I was just gonna be on here for a few minutes. I just wanted to, because I didn't have the full report yesterday, and when she made that comment, I was like, okay, let me pull this report and actually read it online, so it won't be no accusations or allegations that I did not read the entire report. And again, there's a whole nother lawsuit that was filed, and okay, that ain't the one I want. There was a whole nother lawsuit filed. He filed a motion to dismiss, he being her husband, when Desiree filed a motion filed a lawsuit against him. I hope they get it together, because this is a mess. Whole entire mess. And I think, honestly, and this is just my opinion, I think that she went live because she went on to try to get this out here, because it wasn't anything people were talking about. And so she wanted folk to know she felt like her mama was on some BS. So that was the point of it. And then, of course, he obviously, she got her mom sued him as well. So let me pull up his. Talking about I have Blink cameras in my house. I didn't even think about the audio picking up my bedroom activities. I'm taking Bay to court. Yeah, it's a family fight. It's really, at the end of the day, I do feel sorry for her on either way. If you are being abused, that's jacked up. If she's not being abused and her mama is concocting a story as she's alleging, that's jacked up. So it's just jacked up all the way around. So I hope you do take care of your mental health, because, yeah. So this was the mom. She done sued. So this was his motion to dismiss. Hold on a second. That Y'all like, girl, how many documents you got? Child, a whole lot. Thanks for asking. I wonder if I put, let's see. But I got shoot. Diddy done infiltrated my everything on here. I'm like, dang. Something else from Diddy. I had to clean up my desktop because it is ridiculous. I just wanted to pull up one more thing. For all of y'all that's catching it on the replay, all I was doing was doing what she asked. That's all I was doing. Yeah, it's sad all the way around. So I'm not your enemy at all. But I'm not one, and everybody knows that, to just be like, oh, let me just go by what she said because oh my gosh, she is from Rock Nation. You know what we heard. Like, I don't operate like that. I never have. So if that's kind of what you wanted to get from me, that just was not gonna happen. I'm trying to see what this doggone complaint is. Hold on. Because this complaint she got, Desiree added even more stuff that she's gonna have to deal with if people decide that they want to investigate further or whatnot. Let me see. I gotta figure out what I did with it. Pretty sure. Because he filed a motion to dismiss. They respond. I mean, they are like knee deep in this case. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick. Just because I'm not going to be able to find it on my ridiculous desktop, which I am going to clean this weekend because I got so many documents on here. It's ridiculous. Hold on, you guys. Did you hit that like button? Huh? Did you hit the like button? Pull it up right quick. So this was the lawsuit they keep bringing up. So Desiree, Olga, Miladies Garcia Gonzalez, and Denise Milagros Gonzalez Escribano, they have sued Javon. And so they have a lot of. She didn't put her name in there. Like, she was basically saying in here, she got her initials because she didn't want to. But this was crazy, though. When they were saying to obtain and maintain control over DH, Hadley has used techniques identified by experts as insidious forms of abuse referred to as coercive control. You know, we heard that at the whole Diddy trial. Experts have determined that when these tools are used over a long period of time, they erode and indeed destroy individuals' psychological well-being, essentially brainwashing or enslaving their victims. Ain't that what victim number 4 said? She said she was brainwashed. These tools include indoctrination, physical abuse, surveillance, isolation, subjugation, emotional abuse, sleep deprivation, economic abuse, animal abuse. So they're saying, as set forth in more detail below, Hadley has terrorized DH by weaponizing every facet of coercive control, included but not limited to convincing DH he is a god, is always right, that she should only speak when spoken to, and that she should never interrupt him. Isolation and gaslighting, telling DH that her family doesn't care about her or love her and that she had no friends. Now, on that video of him yelling, he did say, "Yo, mama think that you whatever." He did say that on there. Thus, she should make him the center of her world and distance herself from her selfish and unworthy family and friends. Degradation, constantly telling her that she is stupid, unworthy, dumb, and the opposite of her successful mother, as well as that her mother and other family members think she's stupid. Subjugation, requiring her to procure him fresh meals at daily prearranged times, and to do so just like a slave, she must drop whatever she is doing to ensure he is fed and that she completes this essential task. I mean, the man want to eat. Dang. That ain't economic abuse. Having DH fund his every request, including forcing her to alternatively demand and beg her family for money, turning over her entire salary directly to him, selling every item she owns, and turning over the proceeds to him, and being required to ask permission even to buy a cup of tea. Animal abuse, snatching away her dog Nina as punishment if she has committed any perceived slights and threatening to never return her. Surveillance, digitally stalking DH and her entire family through the family's home security system, demanding that DH send him a picture, video, or security camera footage of where she is at any given movement and exert total control over her movement and to ensure her family has no chance to rescue her. Physical abuse, assault, choking, and raping her with no fear of consequence. So then it says, sadly, when the family learned the degree of Hadley's abuse and his calculated tactics, their united attempts to try to save DH failed. In response to plaintiff's efforts to rescue DH from the Hadley's abuse, Hadley has resorted to retaliation by using DH to threaten to sue Desiree and others for their attempts to help DH and to seek justice. Hadley's malicious intentions were made disturbingly clear and were articulated openly in chilling audio recorded phone calls from jail where Hadley was held for abusing DH. In these calls, Hadley boasted of his pursuit of a financial, quote, payday from the family, declaring, quote, "I got to get that payday," and, quote, "payday is going to be all worth it," callously celebrating the potential rewards he planned to reap from Desiree's and her family torment and grief. He probably was talking about that lawsuit they was about to file. However, neither Desiree nor anyone in her family will be deterred by his false claims, manipulative, ruthless threats, and now seek to reclaim their dignity. So they got the party's jurisdiction. So they say Desiree installed security systems at her Miami-Dade home at DH's insistence. Desiree owned 2 homes in Miami-Dade County for the purpose of providing safe, secure, and comfortable environment for her loved ones. The family home has long served as a place in which Julio and Olga reside. DH lived at the family home with her grandmother between 2018 to 2023. Similarly, Hadley spent significant time at the family home and indeed officially moved into the family home in 2022. Given Julio's ongoing struggle with dementia, a condition requiring constant care, the family was determined to ensure he received the proper attention and support he needed. To that end, in June 2021, at DH's request, Desiree hired a professional security consultant to install a high-end surveillance system in the common areas of the family home. In early 2022, after unidentified men approached the property with flashlights and potential weapons, Desiree and DH discussed adding additional security cameras to the pre-existing surveillance system. DH is specifically requested the addition of cameras with audio and color capabilities, later emphasizing the need for cameras in every room to monitor the administration of medication to Julio by caregivers when family members were absent. The additional cameras, both interior and exterior, were placed in common areas. The cameras recorded both video and audio, used state-of-the-art technology for high-quality monitoring, were accessible via an app which provided remote access and was secured by a password and encrypted data. Desiree also installed the same video surveillance system at her mother's Manita's house. As agreed, Desiree granted DH access to the security system and thus the cameras, solely to monitor Julio and Manita to ensure their safety and security. At no point was DH authorized to use or share passwords, transmit or share videos or audio footage, nor was he authorized to grant access to anyone else. Hadley threatens to intimidate DH, demanding access to the security system for the express purpose of monitoring DH plaintiffs and extended family. So here goes some text messages. On July 5th, 2021, he also texted, wait a minute, let me go back. Disturbingly, Hadley consistently tried to drive a wedge between DH and her family, telling her they were untrustworthy and needed to be watched. Hadley's paranoia and false narrative to DH was often coupled with threats to break the close family bond that DH had with her family. For example, on July 5th, 2021, Hadley texted DH referencing Desiree, who was visiting the family home, quote, "You better handle her," end quote. And quote, "If she is here, I need her to be watched the whole time," end quote. Other text messages, DH revealed that he was constantly telling her that Desiree and the rest of the family lied, were not to be trusted, and caused them bad luck. On July 5th, 2021, he also texted, quote, "And when they around that house, anybody from that side, you need to have eyes on them," end quote, period. Because if I catch them, I'm telling you, I'm going to go to jail. Starting with the men, I'm going to shake ish up soon. These text messages constitute an obvious threat by Hadley to harm Julio, DH's grandfather, who was the only male residing in the home, 88 years old and suffering from dementia. Hadley even acknowledged that he was willing to go to jail for assault in order to exert his dominance and control over the family. Then they got more text message. Oh, this is him asking for the. For example, on April 10th, at Desiree's request, DH went to her grandmother Mental's house to check on her. As Desiree believed Mental was suffering from a health crisis, Hadley sent DH a series of threatening texts demanding access to the security system at Mental's house to confirm that DH was in fact at that location. Later that night, Hadley texted DH again demanding proof that Desiree had already asked DH to check on Mental. Hadley further demanded access to the security system at Mental's house to check the footage himself, insisting DH provide him with the login information. In response to Hadley's outrageous and deranged demands, DH texted him the username and password to access the Mental security system. Unable to access the cameras, Hadley became enraged. He texted DH, quote, "The camera password isn't working," end quote, following by chilling ultimatums, quote, "I'm going to need some proof or I'll need my boots," end quote. And quote, "If I don't have that, your ass is in trouble," end quote. Hallie's demands for the surveillance system, login information, and video proof of her location were relentless. Hadley threatened, quote, "If I don't have the screenshots by an hour, I'm going home," end quote. Followed by, quote, "And that's your ass." These statements, among others, demonstrate blatant act of intimidation and coercion designed to instill fear and manipulation DH into compliance. His threats and intimidation went in for hours. Not they got the expression "put my boots on." In the Urban Dictionary means it's prison slang for getting ready for a fight or an ass kicking. So so he's like, "Now you can't answer." Damn, I guess not. What's the app and password to the camera? So he in yellow. She give the username and password. He says, "Screenshot your mom telling you when to slide to your grandma's or call time. The camera's password not working." She said, "I can have my abuela send me a screenshot of me pulling up to her house on the camera. Want that? I can ask her for that tomorrow so you can see I went to my abuela's house. Hold on, let me log out and see. You don't believe I went to my abuela's house and the timestamp from our cameras? Yeah, tell her to screenshot you there. Okay, I will ask her tomorrow to send. Not sure why you think I lie going to my abuela's house and coming back here, but okay. Yeah, and tell me when you have camera apps so I can log in. If I don't have that, your ass in trouble. I'm gonna need some proof or I'm gonna need my boots." I went to my abuela's and came here. I'm resetting password now. That's cool. I'ma just need that screenshot. Okay. I don't want to hear cameras broke either. Okay. Don't delete the messages. Show me before you text her. Home, and that's your ass. Screenshots coming and leaving from here and there, please and thank you. 1 hour. What do I say is the reason? My mom's asking. I don't give a F. I need what I need. So this is the screenshots, I guess, of her asking her mama for the passwords and stuff. It's more stuff on here. They have a alleged photo where they're trying to allege talking about she continuously shows scrapes, bruises, and cuts indicating physical abuse. That's what they alleging in here. You won't lose anything because we made an agreement last night that I will do everything you say. Last night was the last time this ever happens. I will do what I say. I'll never ruin anything because I love you. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna be done after this for real. Let me see what this says. Despite the initial understanding that Peacock was a joint business venture between Hadley and DH, which DH funded through loans that her mother later paid off for her, Hadley was obsessed with diminishing DH's interest in the business. In fact, as observed by her family, DH did not keep or control any money. Still, Hadley threatened her to force her to reduce her percentage. On September 9, 2023, a couple of days before he assaulted her and again tried to get her to reduce her percentage, the following was recorded. Hadley said, "Man, talk, biatch. You never disagree with me. Nobody disagrees with me. I'm the right mother effer. Duh. If you disagree with me, you're stupid." So then she said, "Why would I do a percentage change?" He said, "Because I'm the effing boss and I feel like doing a percentage change." She said, "No." And he said, "No, biatch. I'm the boss." Hadley had so much control over DH that he repeatedly had her say or do things that were demeaning and aimed to humiliate her. In text messages DH sent to Hadley on October 18th, DH pleaded, quote, "You told me in order for you to not leave me to get on my knees. I'll do what you said. You said later tonight or tomorrow I could get on my knees. And I'll suck your tonight and get on my knees." You can then hear what sounds like Hadley pushing her out of the door and slamming the door shut. So that's the text. All right, that's enough. Then we seen this video. So she put that video in there. The video is more text. This is the picture. So this is must be what they're talking about. So this is the video captures DH and Hadley in the bedroom. So this is where they're coming with that she must have had a camera in there or something. That's the point, because in this one it does sound like she's just saying the recording is dated July 18, 2020. Wait a minute, let me go back. So sadly, Desiree's discovery of the security system recordings was only the beginning of evidence discovered that corroborated and further detailed the horror that DH and others in the family home had endured. So apparently Desiree found out about all this stuff going on in these houses, allegedly. Shortly after Hadley's arrest, DH and Hadley moved out of the family home in September 2023 after the assault on September 11, 2023. DH left an old cell phone and downloaded of her cell phone, which she had synced to a computer at the family home. Desiree then reviewed the shocking content that these abandoned items, including a very recording of DH's phone, in which she says, "This is not RAPE. I'm doing what I want to do." You can hear another man talking in the background and Hadley responding, "What the F? No RAPE is stupid." A video. The recording is dated July 18th. So she's saying she got this out of her own phone. That's what Desiree did say before. So then they say the negative effect on her mental health, that we already went over this about the whole she will unalive herself and all of that. Desiree and family members endure severe emotional and significant remediation costs. So count one is violation of Federal Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. So it's about the family home security that he got the password information from. Violation of the Store Communications Act. And violation of federal wiretap. So that's kind of what they said about her too in theirs. Violation of Florida Security of Communication Act. Invasion of privacy via intrusion upon seclusion. Private nuisance. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. You know, you got to throw that in for good measure. So that's that. I mean, there's a lot to that complaint, but I ain't really going over it like that. He defended himself in a request to dismiss the case, and he basically was saying, he's been harassed for years, and all of this stuff is a lie, and he never did none of that stuff they talking about that she's accusing him of. He did all these things to Demore, thinking he blackmailed her and her family for money, but it appears to be backfiring. Seem like people out here, people hate Rock Nation enough where they like, shoot, we don't care about what both sides got to say. He said he full of junk. And again, he got a motion to dismiss, of which he, is basically saying it's all a lie. And saying, he starts his out similar to the complaint. I don't know. It looks very similar. So it's probably the same lawyer on the motion to dismiss, but it looks very, very similar, where they got her record and all of that stuff for the first few pages. They smear for a good 2-3 pages on her past. But hey, Siri said, I understand why Desiree dislikes Javon, but why is she and the rest of the family suing him? Does this suit against... Oh, you must have did that before I actually pulled it up. Andrew, that was not nice. You're going to be held in contempt. He said, oh, here. I'ma say it. If I had Desiree's power, he would be handled by the exact means that accused me. Don't say that, because people are like, you are condoning that. But what about, it's still illegal? It don't matter. No matter what she going through, it's still illegal, and you gotta do everything through legal, through legal means. And I understand that. I don't condone nobody doing nothing against the law. When it comes to your kids, when you a parent, I can relate on things that you kind of want to do when people do something to hurt your kids. So if that is true, they're saying it's not true. She said he's never laid a hand on her ever on no day. So that's what she's saying. Destined for Greatness said is abuse and accused to put people under surveillance and have them committed, genuinely asking based on the complaint. Okay, so since you're genuinely asking, we've been talking about this for 3 days. She's saying she showed text of which, first of all, the Baker's Act says if you have good cause or believe you have good cause, then you have the right to commit them, right? So they're supposed to be, I don't know what proof Desiree has, but there was something happened where she felt like her daughter was taking pills. So that's supposed to be that. And then we seen the text where there were alluding to suicidal ideations. Like, if he leave me, I ain't gonna be able to make it. I'd rather die. That type of stuff. And I don't know what other behaviors they went through and talked about in that complaint I just pulled up, but I ain't go through the whole thing. They went through, I guess, the way different actions that they're alleging. of how she was behaving. And I guess because she had money, she was like, listen, I'm going to have PI follow you everywhere to make sure he don't put his hands on you, or whatever her reasoning is, make sure she's safe. She said she bought two houses. They live next to each other because they're from the family, because she just explained she bought the houses. She paid for them for her families to live in them. She has a father with dementia that she cares for and got a caretaker, and they got surveillance and all of that. Having PIs is not unheard of. I'm not saying that you should do it because I don't want nobody following me. But get you in a car accident or something, they gonna definitely try to follow you. But a parent, she must got a couple of dollars just to blow to be having somebody 20. Like, your whole detail is to follow my daughter and her man everywhere. Like, that just seems a bit overboard. But I think she may just be scared and in fear of her child's, safety. That's all. Yes, Kelly, I took a nap today. I fell out, child. I got done with my hair and I was done. Andrea said, raise your hand if you think Demore shouldn't be committed. I'll go first. I didn't see anything where it says she should be committed, because honestly, the text message to me was her just assuming it's true, because she said that it was AI, everything was fake. So she said all the evidence, right? So assuming that that's the truth, I'm gonna reserve my opinion on everything. AK said never trust a dude that drives a Charger. Somebody said that earlier. Somebody said they think he drive a Charger. I'm like, where you get that from? So to see that in there was kind of crazy. Listen, Desiree got a couple of dollars, because that's a lot. Every day, like, your detail is to follow my child and her man. Yeah, that's the new thing in court. You didn't know? I've seen that. I've seen defendants on the stand say it wasn't them, it was AI. Why are all the symptoms she has being overlooked and diminished, but A-okay for Mia? Peachy Bama, I don't know. She's saying none of this stuff is true. Okay. So she's saying none of this stuff is true. She's saying she ain't abused. She not verbally abused. They was just in a little argument, on the recording we saw. I don't know if she's saying that video was AI, because that video sure showed someone getting punched. The text messages that we just saw, if they are authentic, does sound like she trying to do whatever to please him, and he talks to her like trash. That is what it looks, and she wants to consistently stay. And her mom looks like she tried to low-key get her to talk to somebody in an ex cult that deals with people in sex cults. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I'm just reporting. That's it. I don't even want to have no opinion on this. I'm just gonna go ahead, and like I said, I was gonna read it because she said something about it. So that's all. But I get you, Peachy Bama. It depends on who you talk to. Some people, everything, they see why you should be committed. And the thing is, with Cassie, Mia, the victim number, the other victim, Jane Doe, that's in the indictment. I think she's testifying tomorrow afternoon. But when it comes to all of them, it is kind of like similar to what they are alleging, and people are like, oh, psychologically, they ain't right. And even Cassie says she went to some treatment, and she has a therapist, and she has, she knows that she has issues. But with her, people is saying, even though she was in this type of situation, it didn't amount to Baker's Act, is what they're arguing. So thank you, April, for the Cash App. I appreciate it. Just Me said, I'm condoning Desiree's action. I don't think Demore should be committed. This is a situation Desiree can't control. It's Demore's life, and she has the right to make her own decision. That's from Just Me. Said, I know you're hurting. And that's one of the most difficult things in life. And when you get adult children, you definitely are going to be able to feel what I'm saying. You think you talk to your kids and you let them see you mess up and stumble, and you say, I did all this so you won't have to go through it. And they still want to go through it anyway. They still got to go through. And at least one of my kids was like, I'm just a person that got to go through it. Just honest. I know all this could have been avoided, but I don't know. It's just something I gotta go. I gotta learn on my own. I can't learn from somebody else. That was the personality. I gotta go through it and know that it ain't gonna work for me. Not just because it didn't work for you, don't mean it ain't gonna work for me, type thing. Or that it's a bad idea for you, that it necessarily is a bad idea for me. So I'm just that person that gotta be busting my head over and over. But all your kids do it, and then all you can do is pray. And that's it. It does come, and be there when they want to talk and when they want you there. That's all you can do. So yeah, that's it. I mean, Dr. Jonathan said I'm one of those people. I like to see what other people do. I don't like to reinvent the wheel, even in I'm like, did anybody else write a motion to this? Can I get that? I tweak it and add my own little swag to it, but I don't gotta reinvent the wheel. I don't have to prove it to nobody. Like I don't do any of that. So that's like the opposite. Oh, you that ain't work for you. Okay, let me move on. You lost that? Oh, okay. Let me do a different argument. Yeah, they gotta learn the hard way. And it sucks when it's your kid. So I can see that if this is true. And then you gotta look from Desiree's standpoint. I think because she has all this at her disposal, she has money, she has some power, and because she has all of this at her disposal, how do you feel like you can help other people in crisis, but you can't help your own child? So because she has the resources, she's using those resources to be almost as controlling as she is alleging this boyfriend or husband to be. So you got this young woman stuck between a rock and a hard place because you love your family. Family gonna be there regardless. But she obviously love her man. And if there's a DV situation, like everyone has been talking with this Diddy situation, every psychologist have been in my chat and they said that there's a psychology behind them staying and why they don't want to go and all of that. And again, if her mom was a person that wasn't there like that and she was raised by someone else, and I'm not saying whether that's true or not, she probably has abandonment and rejection issues, and she has a fear of people leaving her. And if that did happen, her mom may feel like now she has the opportunities. She got herself together. She has her opportunities and she wants to protect her child and do whatever she can now. Now, somebody said I said she was a good mother because I said that. I'm like, I'm saying that maybe, perhaps, if she was not there, if that story is true, then maybe what she did was she said, listen, I'm going to fight for mine because maybe I didn't fight as hard as I should have when she was younger. Or maybe she also feels like her daughter don't have the self-esteem or whatever that she'll stay in this situation because of her. I don't know. She may have, my mothers and parents have guilt too of what they could have, should have, would have done. And they wish they can go back and do it over. There's no manual to it and you jack up. I don't know no person that said they did everything right. They didn't. I don't know a parent. I've had to apologize to my kids when I look back at certain things like, dang, like I really was growing up with you. I was really learning myself and learning how to be a parent at the same time. And because of that, there are situations you were in that I regret that you were in, or things that you've seen that I regret that you were seeing, or the environment, or whatever it is. So maybe perhaps that's part of the reason. But we don't know. We just wish them all the best. And I hope she has peace and happiness and that she is in consistent therapy, because this is a lot. Always curious at dealing with adult children. Sometimes it's like watching a train wreck and they can get out of the way. A lot of heartbreak. Trust me, I know. I've had many snotty nights. After hearing that tape, I wouldn't want him with my daughter either, but I don't like how that Baker act went down. All right, Kelly. She don't like it. And once grown kids fall now, they want to run to you to fix things and they stress your life. That's the thing. A lot of times you have to clean up what you try to avoid. And that's really what aggravates me about that. But you deal with that like I deal with that in my profession. You can give them preventive measures and no, that's not a good idea. And then once you get sued, you calling me. And it's like, we could have prevented all of this stuff. Because I told you that. Yours truly said, I didn't know I was being abused mentally because I was experiencing the same things I did as a child and it felt familiar. That's deep, yours truly. Wow. A lady 747 said the mom is getting karma for all that snow she put on the, allegedly. She said it ain't true, allegedly. And the crazy part is, this is De'Ara Sanders said, and the crazy part is, JC, you do something to the abuser you love, your loved one will hate you for protecting them. Nothing you can do. Starfish and Coffee said, weak daughter bullied by her hood rat mom. Y'all are brutal. We take that back off of here. Oh my goodness. All right, y'all. I'm about to get on off of here so I can eat and chill out. Because I took my little nap earlier, but that ain't enough. I'll probably be asleep. The sun ain't even went all the way down, and I'm about to be probably asleep before then. But thank you guys so much for, coming on, supporting your girl. I always appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. If you enjoyed this content, again, I have read in its entirety the state's report. And it does seem like a few details was left out. Okay. But all in all, I wish you the best. And I hope you are not in that situation. And I hope if you are, you get the help you need. But anyway, until next time, I holler at you guys Until next time, I holler at you guys next time. I holler at you guys later. All right, bye.